Well, Coach Hettinga, we're excited for another season of Laker men's basketball, and Lake Superior turned heads with last year's impressive GLIAC Tournament Run. How hungry did that make you and your players for the start of this season?
I hope it made them really hungry. Obviously, it gave them a taste of the tournament, and going all the way to the finals was getting that close, and being, essentially we were one half away from going to the national tournament, which was our guys' goal last year, and hopefully that gave them a lot of motivation, hopefully even some confidence building through the summer and knowing what it takes to get that close, and obviously the goal was to take one step further, but it was a great tournament run, but obviously that was last year, and you get no credit for wins for last year's success, so it's back to the drawing board, and like you said, I hope that gave our guys some confidence and at least gave them a roadway, so to speak, to what it takes to try to get back there again this year.
You have 5 returnees with starting experience. Does that mean the Lakers will have a similar look to last season, or do you have some surprises planned? We don't want you to give away any secrets, but
thanks.
What do you have in mind?
Well, obviously, with the guys we got returning, they are who they are, and it's obviously my job as the head coach to try to draw out those guys' strengths. Our playing style will obviously be very similar, with a couple of seniors that have been starters for 4 years, and obviously it's my job, as I said, to get those guys the ball in great situations. Defensively, we'd like to continue on what we built last year. I thought our defense was solid last year. There's obviously room for improvement on both ends of the floor, but our style of play will be very similar, and hopefully we can stick to our mantra of taking care of the basketball and limit our turnovers while playing great defense, and hopefully being a very physical style rebounding team, which has been our MO here, and something we're going to try to build on from last year.
Speaking of those returnees, what expectations do you have of your seniors Derek Billing and Cameron Metz?
Well, I expect them to be seniors and lead us on and off the floor. I think both guys have progressed over their 4 years here, and both guys had great summers, and they came back in shape, and they were kind of leading us all through our preseason, and they led us so far in practice as far as leading those freshmen and leading even our juniors and our sophomores that are still looking for their leadership. They really turned to Derek Billing in particular, and obviously the big guys all turned to Cam Metz as far as things to do and how to do it, and both guys have really led us in practice. It's been a really interesting thing as the coach to kind of see those guys have morphed into great leaders and not just good players. And obviously in the games, both those guys will be leaning on heavily, especially for offense, and Cam's going to be leaning on a lot more heavily this year for rebounding with the absence of Derek Kinney. I expect Cameron to really step up his rebounding numbers and be much more of a force on the glass at both ends. And obviously Derek Billing is going to be a guy that most teams are going to kind of gear towards of limiting his shots and his attempts and his scoring, but he's really improved getting to the basket, and we're going to lean on both those guys pretty heavily and without putting too much pressure on them.
And who are some of your most improved players since last season?
I'd say our most improved player from last year to this year, it really stands out to me, is Tony Harris, our point guard. He was kind of thrown into the fire last year with an injury to our other point guard, and had to take over the starting role, and I thought he got better as the season went on, and I really saw a mature process in our last regular season game against Wayne State. I thought Tony really stepped up there and kind of took the bull by the horn, so to speak, and led us and said, hey, I'm our point guard. I think it took him 8 or 9 games to really feel like he was the guy, and he's come in with a different attitude this year, and he's been our leader at point guard and has really accepted that role, and I thought it would be a tight battle at point guard this year for who would start and who would lead us, but Tony has clearly taking the starting role from all of our other guys competing against him, and I look for him to have a great year.
Okay. Are there any other guys you want to mention along those lines? Or?
Well, Alex Williams has really improved last year. I thought he was very underrated. He was definitely our best defender all year last year, and he has really stepped up his game, and he has matured into a great player that we expect him to have a great season as well. Those two guys stand out the most, Alex Williams and Tony Harris.
Okay. I remember at this time last year we talked about the league as a whole, and you mentioned how game in, game out, you just have to be ready to play. And what will it take for LSSU to contend for a North Division title with so much balance?
Well, I think the first thing is obviously knocking on wood. You got to stay injury free, and obviously you got to have some luck along the way. And there's obviously a game or two of those teams that win the conference. If you go back and look, they had 1 or 2 really close games that they snuck out with on the road maybe. So I think that's really important to stay healthy first of all, and to get lucky a little bit. But you got to do those things that make you successful, game in, game out. You got to play great defense. You got to take care of the basketball, as I said earlier. And obviously you got to play your style. And there's going to be some games that you just don't have your A game. That I think the teams that win the conference are a little bit more mentally tough than the others that maybe finish middle of the pack or towards the bottom, because they just get those tough wins that it's just not their night, but they find a way to win those games anyways. And that's what we'd have to do if we really are serious about contending for the North title and getting into the GLIAC tournament again. You're going to have those games where it's just not your night, but somehow you walk out of there with a win and you look at yourselves and say, how did we win that game? And hopefully you were just mentally tougher with some good upperclassmen that led you to victory, and you take those wins and run. Any win in our conference is a great win, especially on the road. And for us last year, we were a solid road team. Really felt we struggled a little bit at home. We had some stretches of 3 or 4 games in a row at home, and we won 1 or 2 of those games. You can't do that if you want to win a league title. Definitely can't do that if you expect to get into the GLIAC tournament going 500 or less at home, and that's where we were last year, and something that we'll definitely have to address and improve on this year.
Well, it sounds like we have an exciting season ahead. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.